Alright, so today we're about to head to the shop. It's just one of those things it's always good. The cold start on the BMW, these things, the N54s, they have their problems. Mine's had problems. You always hear about people having problems out of them. But when they run, and they're running right, they run very good. They're very well, these things perform. And yeah, these things are a handful. So yeah, this cold start never gets old on this thing. I don't know what it is about it. Just something about this thing. This car, it's a love-hate relationship, but it always sounds good. I like the blow-off valve sounds. It makes all the right noises, but it's a pain to work on. The parts are super expensive. It's just one of those things, I guess. We may end up selling this car, I don't really know. But alright, here we go. Alright, we're back at the shop again, which I've been working for a while. I just hadn't brought out the camera yet. So what I've done is, for one, I went ahead and the AC pump, I went ahead and pulled it and fixed the oil leak. I think I did. So I decided to go ahead, which ain't tore the blue stuff off yet, but I decided to go ahead and put a battery box in and run the battery back here. I ran an extra wire just so if I wanted to add anything later, that leaves me the option to run some kind of power without having to take the box open. And I can actually jump the box from up here, or the car. So let me show you. So I can actually hook onto that gold thing there and then just ground the other wire somewhere and we can jump it from here. I know it's a cheap way of doing it, but it gets the wires out of the way. Got to tape up some wires and stuff, clean it up. It's just old car, people swapped it, and it is what it is, man. But the oil leak should be fixed, and got the battery tray in, got the wires back to the back. Now I got to do some more cleaning up, get me a material list for the vacuums and that kind of thing, and start cleaning up the interior. And I'm still waiting on a few parts to finish up here and put coolant and stuff in it, but I'm getting closer all the time. So I had to put the battery box together. It took a little while to get that thing together. For an eBay battery box, it actually was pretty good. It came with, the kit originally came with the wire and the, so like all the wire to run it all the way from the back and all that, and the box and all the stuff to do it with. But that had already, I guess somebody had a stereo in it or something. And so to run it from the back to the front, that didn't have a stereo in it no more, but it had the 0 gauge power wire. And so I just used it, and it comes right up to, the passenger side there. And I just bought a voltage splitter. I've already powered it up, everything comes on as it should. I still got to change the starter and all the other things that I've mentioned before, the vacuums and some other stuff. But I do have the oil leak fixed. I'm waiting on the intake. Gotta get some vacuums and some other things like that. So I ain't done a lot this weekend. I took a little bit of time off. So, but yeah, that's what I've got done today. It's been a little bit of a chore to do the battery box. It's not been bad. It just took a couple hours. But I think I've got that ready. The there was wiring and stuff. There was some random wires and stuff that went under the dash that go to like the radio and odd and end different things that somebody's added in. I've pulled most of that back. I've got to where they spliced in and some other things. I've got to clean that up, tape that up. I did go back to, I was going to use a relay, and that way when I turned the switch on that the pump would come on. But with the Wiring Specialties kit, I didn't have to do that, so I already put that back together. I got to tape up, get it back into a loom or something together. Just some backup and punt kind of things just to clean up the car. That way there's no wiring issues. There's a little bit of wiring issue up front. There's some wire been pulled loose up here on the driver's side, on like toward the headlight. I've got to get into that eventually, but I don't think that has anything to do with it cranking or running or anything. I think it's just like a headlight staying on or something, or one won't come on or something. But I'll go back to that. I'll have to figure out why my windows don't roll up and down. May have something to do with that group of wires, so I'm going to have to clean that up. Overall, the car is, the wiring's not that bad. It's just got, however many years and however many people swapped it and worked on it and pulled on things. It's got a nick in the wire here and there. But I know where everything's at, and it's not really that bad. There's a few under, like where the ignition switch is, a couple behind this back headlight where they were tied in, and then in the back. And that's really all the wiring issues I found. And now it's got, so from the, the ECU and to the main dash harness where it ties in there, from that forward into the engine bay and stuff, all that's the Wiring Specialty stuff. So that's all brand new, so we don't have to worry about that. But the chassis harness has got a few nicks in it. But it's not horrible. I can clean it up. It'll look good. And again, the O2 sensor, a few vacuums, radiator hose, get some coolant in it. And we should be able to let it run a little longer, and hopefully the oil leak's fixed too. So we'll know on that. After next time I crank it, I'll watch for that. But I'm gonna try to wait till we get the, I've already powered it up, and I need to change the starter too. But I'm gonna do those couple of things before I try to run it too long, and then I've got to change the oil. Yeah, as quick as I get to where I know operating temperature is, I'll have to have coolant and all that to be able to tell, and I will change the oil, and then we'll be able to drive it and try to figure it out, get some exhaust on it, and see how it does. So we're getting closer all the time, but I'm about done for the night, I think. Yeah, all right, here we go. All right, I cranked the car. It's still a little smoky in here. I didn't see any oil. I didn't notice any running that time when I cranked it. So I may have got that leak fixed. We'll hope so. I did clean up some of the wiring. I did relocate the battery. It's in the back. That wire will go to an O2 sensor down there. Then I'll get the right intake. And this filter's trash. Cheap deal there. I gotta shorten a couple things, but yeah, looks a little cleaner. Working continually to get it cleaned up. So, all right, here we go. Okay, so we're finally somewhere with the whole 2JZ swap in the S14. So I decided I'm not going to put the little deal in there to put a sensor in it or whatever, but I did get the wiring harness. So what I did is I run a ground up to, because it's aluminum radiator, run a ground off the fan and took my actual switch wire and went down behind the radiator. The same on the other side, if you can see. There's the ground, then the switch wire goes around behind the radiator. It's all hid under here. Okay, so now, so I gotta hide the two red ones, wrap them with something. They go over and go to my distribution block. Okay, alright, so you can see, maybe, I don't know if you can see or not, but there are two brown wires in there, and the two brown wires are the ones that come over here to activate my fans. The red wires go to 12 volt. There was a black wire that's a keyed 12 volt, you know, so when you turn your switch on. Well, I reduced them down to a single wire, so that's what that deal is. So I can cut one and make them go to a single, and that's what I'll do with the white ones, and that will actually go to a switch. But the black one, because I don't have any the stock sensors or anything that are getting the temperature, this is the factory fan switch or whatever. So the white wires go to ground, but on a switch. Okay, so what I'll do is I will, you can see it's not grounded, and that side is grounded. If I can flick it. There's my pump. If it'll stay hooked up. So that puts my fans on a switch. So all I gotta do is run one wire in there and then one wire off of this to a ground. So this two wires will reduce down to one. So one wire will actually go one side of my switch, and the other wire will run to ground. And that puts it on a switch pop. And I kept everything up here except for one wire. It goes back into the cab of the car. So I hang my switch somewhere, and my one white wire that goes into the cab of the car, and then I'll drop one off the other side to somewhere good solid ground, and that will be that. So I have the intake, I've got it on, I've got the correct O2 sensor. Well, I found out the engine coolant temperature sensor that lives down in here, and there's one that's for like the light, you know, it says, hey, you're overheating, I guess, a temperature light. So there's two sensors that live down here. Well, I had to order them for the MK4 Supra. That's the two plugs for that green plug and the little single square one. So I've got that figured out. I've got my fans pretty close. I've got to get somewhere to, actually I got to drag that wiring in and clean all that stuff up and wrap it and stuff. And then drag it in and put it on a, put that switch in, put it somewhere. I've got to figure out these hoses, clean them up. I have to get the mass airflow sensor for the correct engine and come up with the ECU and put my coolant and burp this thing, and then we will see what we got. But it's pretty close, man. This thing is coming together. So that's what we got. Like I said, I tried to keep the wire as clean as I could. I still have to figure out somewhere to put the red and kind of hide it, and it goes under and goes to my distribution block, and then there'll be a single white wire that goes into the car. So down to just those couple of things, adding coolant, and then once all that's done, we're looking at exhaust. So we're getting there. I've been dealing with Reynolds past couple days, and we're about to have this blizzard, snow, single digit, whatever, so I've got to deal with that too. So I hadn't been filming anything, and I finally had some parts come in, so I run over here to film that. maybe I'll get to film something over the next couple of days. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. This will probably be a short video. I just wanted to keep moving forward and kind of doing our thing. This thing, I know it's kind of dragging on, but I'm trying to make sure I have everything. Oh, and I need a PCV valve for this thing too. So the couple sensors, PCV, mass airflow sensor, the correct ECU, which I'm not sure on that just yet. I'm still kind of working through that. And it's been just the fact of not knowing what I needed. So if you do this swap, hit me up, man, because, you know, I'm more than willing to help you figure out some of the stuff that I've ran into. And I use, like I say, eBay cheap relays. I used eBay, well, just cheap, inexpensive stuff as I could. Because to me, wiring is wiring. If I'm going to use wires and I need relays, you know, I probably could have bought them and just used whatever relays I had. Because I do have some relays and could have made that work. But I'd planned on using that temperature sensor for it to activate. So I ended up not using that at all either. So I ended up just, I'm going to put it on a single switch. That way I'm not worried about it trying to fail or anything. I can turn it on if it tends to run hot. I can cut it on earlier. Yeah, but I'm still, like I say, I'm going to order the MK4 coolant temperature sensor. So that should read, that should give me a temperature output reading, I hope. So I'm going to order that, and you know, maybe that'll fix that whole issue. I really don't know. And that's what they told me at Wiring Specialties, that would be the correct one. I don't know if it'll screw in anywhere. I'm assuming it will. I would say that I just unscrew the one out of this engine and put the correct one in. I don't know where the other one will live. I don't know if it has to be in the coolant. I don't know if it has to just be grounded and feel the temperature, or the temperature of the block. Some of these sensors, they don't actually go into the block all the way. They just thread in, and I guess they, like your NOx sensors, they don't go inside the engine. They just, you know, hook to the outside. So if you took one out, there's not going to be any oil come out of it. Maybe, but some stuff, like, you know, on the back of these engines, they don't have, you know, all the way through. So it's just the ground. So when it bolts, screws on, that actually grounds it. So you just have the power and it reads that sensor. So that's why it's single wire. Yeah, it's going to be an issue trying to figure out the ECU and the mass airflow. But you know, the mass airflow is going to be just an IS300, my stock one, or whatever 2J, and whatever ECU will plug. And I'm assuming it has to be at least a VBTI, and one that doesn't have the distributor. So yeah, which will be a VBTI. So it has to be the correct computer for the car, and has to be the correct mass airflow to match the computer. That's what I'm thinking. So that's going to be two parts of the puzzle, and then the coolant temperature. But we'll get all that and get it all dialed in. But we're getting closer. I mean, we're about to fight this bad weather stuff, and I've got rentals. I'm already having hot water issues. I've got a heat and air unit down. So I got a roof that's leaking, ceiling's bad, and I still got that double wide out there that's still got a lot left. And yeah, so just trying to play catch up and trying to, you know, hang in there too. So yeah. All right, here we go.
I'm feeling high. I'm feeling high.